numbers, and it's true. Democrats are not feeling so great, especially because of their loss. Now, what's really interesting is that people under 50 are actually the people who feel the worst in the Democratic Party. And I reached out to the Young Democrats of America. Their president says that he's not surprised morale in the Democratic Party is so low.
This is how Americans sort of see the parties. Which party is better described as the party with strong leaders? Look at this.
Wow.
16% of Americans say Democrats, 40% say that of the Republican Party.
The 2026 midterms could be House Democrats to lose 10 months out from the election. The Cook Political Report released a new rating of competitive seats and shifted 18 House races toward Democrats.
Today we're talking about a major political story in the United States that's getting a lot of attention. It comes from a new poll released by the APNORC Center for Public Affairs Research, and it shows something very surprising. A large group of Democrats, the people who are supporters of the Democratic Party, are not feeling very positive about their own party. This is serious because political parties depend on their supporters being confident and excited. But right now, that confidence has dropped noticeably. In this video, we will break this news down in a way that's easy to understand, detailed, and interesting. We'll cover what the poll shows, what it means for Democratic voters, why it matters for elections, and what could happen next. Let's begin by talking about what this poll is and how it was done. The poll was conducted by the APNORC Center for Public Affairs Research, which is one of the most respected polling organizations in the United States. They surveyed 1,156 adults across the country from February 5 to February 8, 2026. The answers were collected from a group that represents the diversity of the U.S. population, so the results are statistically meaningful within a small margin of error. Now here's the big number that stands out. Only about 70% of Democrats say that they have a positive view of the Democratic Party. That means 3 out of every 10 Democrats do not feel positive about their own party. Many of them are unhappy, unenthusiastic, or frustrated. This might not sound shocking at first. After all, people sometimes disagree with their own teams, but this 70% figure is actually significantly lower than it used to be. We also see that discontent isn't limited to just one group within the Democratic Party. It's not only older or younger voters. It's widespread among different ages, races, education levels, and ideological groups. That is significant because it shows the problem isn't isolated. It's a broad feeling among party supporters. Now let's compare this to the Republicans for context. The report also suggests that Republicans are slightly more enthusiastic about their party than Democrats are about theirs. That means more Republicans feel positively and confident about the future direction of their party compared to Democrats. But it's also worth noting that overall public opinion of both major parties is low. Many Americans do not view either party very favorably. This is important because in U.S. politics, enthusiasm among voters matters a lot. When supporters feel excited and confident about their party, they are more likely to go out and vote, volunteer, donate, and encourage others to participate. When supporters are unhappy or frustrated, they might stay home on election day or even switch sides. Let's talk about the midterm elections, which are coming up later this year in 2026. In the U.S., midterm elections are held halfway through a president's term. All 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for election, along with many Senate seats and governor's offices. Midterms often act as a key test for the party out of power and also for the party in power. Historically, the president's party tends to lose seats in midterm elections. This means that if the Democrats are already struggling with enthusiasm and confidence, they could face real challenges in winning seats and keeping political power in Congress. Another interesting part of this poll is the way Americans view key issues like health care. According to the poll, about 35% of U.S. adults say the Democratic Party would do a better job handling health care, compared to 23% who say the same about the Republican Party. This suggests that Democrats still have some advantage on certain issues that matter to voters. But when it comes to issues like the economy and immigration, the poll shows that the Republicans haven't lost much ground and Democrats haven't gained much either. Around 31% of adults trust Republicans more on the economy, and that's not much different from before. Many Americans simply say they trust neither party to do a better job. This is a problem because if voters do not trust either party to solve big issues like the cost of living or immigration, they may decide not to vote at all or may look for alternative options such as independent candidates or third parties. This can make political outcomes more unpredictable. Let's put some of these numbers in perspective. 70% of Democrats currently have a positive view of their party. That's down from about 85% just a year or two ago. Around 35% of US adults trust Democrats on health care. Only about 31% trust Republicans on the economy. And a large portion of Americans are distrustful of both parties. These are not small changes. These are shifts that reflect how Americans feel about their government and political leaders. Psychologists and political strategists would say that morale matters. If the supporters of a political party feel disconnected from the party's leadership or direction, they are less likely to show up when it counts the most, on election day. So what could Democrats do to respond to this situation? Many poll analysts believe that the party might need stronger and clearer messaging, meaning democracy. Supporters want to hear a straightforward plan about topics like jobs, health care, inflation, and foreign policy. They want the party to be bold and confident, not hesitant or unclear. Some Democratic activists say the party needs to focus less on internal disagreements and more on what everyday Americans care about the most. Others say the party needs to fight harder against Republican policies and make sure their voices are heard loudly and consistently. Meanwhile, Republicans are also paying attention to these poll results, because if Democratic voters stay unhappy, Republicans may try to attract those voters or push policies that divide them further. But it's also true that neither party currently scores high in the polls overall. This means Americans are generally unhappy with both major political teams. This lack of trust creates a political environment where independent voters, those who do not strongly identify with either party, may become increasingly important. In fact, many political observers think that whoever wins more independent voters in the upcoming elections may have a strong advantage. As voters, it's important to understand that polls like this are not a final prediction. They show how people feel right now. Opinions can change over time, especially as politicians speak more about key issues, as new events happen, or as people see more leadership decisions unfold. Another factor to consider is fundraising. Political campaigns depend heavily on donations from supporters. When people feel positive about their party, they are more likely to donate money. In the 2024 election cycle, both parties raised billions of dollars combined. If Democratic supporters are feeling discouraged, small-dollar donations could slow down. That would impact advertising, field operations, and voter outreach efforts. Campaigns rely on money for television ads, digital promotions, rallies, and staffing. Lower enthusiasm often translates into fewer volunteers knocking on doors or making phone calls. There is also the issue of independent voters. About 40% of American voters now identify as independents rather than strictly Democratic or Republican. These voters often decide close elections. If they see one party as divided or unconfident, they may lean toward the other side or choose not to participate at all. Polling suggests that many independents currently feel frustrated with both major parties. That frustration creates an unpredictable political environment. The mood inside a political party can also influence candidate recruitment. When a party is energized, strong candidates are more likely to run for office. Business leaders, community activists, and local officials may step forward. But when morale is low, some potential candidates may hesitate. They may feel that the national environment is not favorable or that the party lacks direction. This can affect the quality and diversity of candidates running in competitive districts. Another important point is messaging. Political messaging refers to how a party communicates its goals and priorities to the public. When party members are unified and confident, messaging tends to be clearer and more consistent. But when there is internal dissatisfaction, messaging can become mixed or unfocused. Voters may struggle to understand what the party stands for or what it plans to do differently. Clear messaging is especially important during midterm elections, when voters are judging the performance of current leaders. Economic conditions will also play a major role. Historically, voters pay close attention to issues like inflation, unemployment, wages, and gas prices. If the economy improves significantly before the midterms, that could boost confidence for whichever party voters believe deserves credit. On the other hand, if economic struggles continue, frustration could increase. In many surveys, the economy remains the top issue for American voters. That means party enthusiasm alone does not decide elections, but it interacts strongly with economic perceptions. Social issues may also influence turnout. Topics like healthcare access, immigration policy, education standards, and reproductive rights often motivate specific groups of voters. For example, younger voters tend to respond strongly to issues involving climate policy and student debt. Older voters often focus on Social Security and Medicare stability. If Democrats can reconnect with their base on these high-priority issues, enthusiasm could rise again before November 2026. Another element to watch is media coverage. News cycles can shift quickly. A major Supreme Court decision, an international crisis, or a significant legislative debate can change public opinion in a matter of weeks. Political momentum is not fixed. It evolves based on events. That means current dissatisfaction among Democrats is not necessarily permanent. Parties often experience ups and downs between election cycles. Historically, the party not holding the presidency often gains seats in midterms because voters use the election as a way to balance power. But this pattern is not guaranteed. Strong organization, compelling candidates, and clear policy plans can defy historical trends. For Democrats, rebuilding enthusiasm may involve focusing on grassroots organizing, engaging local communities, hosting town halls, and increasing direct communication with voters. Grassroots energy has been a powerful force in recent American politics. Volunteer networks, online activism, and small community groups can create strong turnout efforts. If Democratic leaders invest in mobilizing these networks, they may offset some of the current dissatisfaction. Political scientists often say that turnout operations, sometimes called ground games, can increase voter participation by several percentage points in competitive states. Another possible impact involves party unity in Congress. When lawmakers sense that their base is unhappy, they may push for more visible action. This could lead to stronger opposition strategies, more aggressive legislative proposals, or increased public campaigning. However, it could also create internal debates about the party's direction. Managing that balance will be critical for party leadership. Looking beyond 2026, these trends could shape the next presidential election cycle. Midterms often set the tone for the following presidential race. Strong midterm results can energize donors and volunteers for a presidential campaign. Weak results can trigger leadership changes or policy shifts. That means the current dissatisfaction revealed in the poll may influence decisions about future candidates and party strategies. Political parties are living organizations. They respond to pressure from voters. If a significant portion of Democrats are expressing frustration, party leaders will likely conduct internal reviews, strategy sessions, and outreach campaigns. Polling data is often used to adjust campaign messages and policy priorities. So while the numbers in this poll show concern, they also provide an opportunity for change. At the same time, Republicans are monitoring these trends carefully. Political competition means each party looks for weaknesses in the other. If Republicans see lower Democratic enthusiasm, they may increase campaigning efforts in swing districts. Competitive states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia often determine control of Congress. Small shifts in turnout in those states can change national power. In summary, the poll's findings are not just numbers on a page. They represent real feelings among millions of voters. Lower enthusiasm can influence turnout, fundraising, candidate recruitment, messaging, and overall political momentum. But politics is dynamic. Public opinion can shift based on leadership decisions, economic changes, and major national events. The months ahead will show whether Democrats can rebuild confidence among their supporters, or whether dissatisfaction will continue shaping the political landscape. As we move closer to the 2026 midterm elections, analysts, strategists, and voters alike will be watching closely. Because in American democracy, participation matters. When voters are engaged and motivated, elections reflect strong civic involvement. When voters feel discouraged, participation declines. And in a system where many races are decided by razor-thin margins, even small changes in enthusiasm can reshape the balance of power in Washington for years to come.